kind of weather because she's dialed in from Mombasa. So, well, it's raining a little bit in Mombasa, but it's not cold. So, welcome to the show. I'd like to give my guest this opportunity to introduce herself. Welcome. We get to celebrate that day tomorrow. That is Friday tomorrow. So with me in studio is a lady who is in that industry. I don't know whether menstrual health is an industry, but it's something that's very integral to our lives. So I want to give her this chance to introduce herself. She's joining in from Mombasa. Can you hear me? All right, let's give her a few minutes to get online. So, all right.
Can you hear me? Yes, now I can hear you.
Excellent. Please introduce yourself.
Hi there. My name is Ebi Weyime, and I'm founder of the Grace Cup. At the Grace Cup, we deal with reusable period products.
Excellent. I love that name, Grace Cup. Before we even get into the topic, I just want you to tell us a little bit about what inspired you to call your company the Grace Cup.
Well, it took a while to get that name. But I just thought of something. To me, when I hear the name Grace, first of all, I think of a woman. I don't think of a man. The first thing that comes to my mind is a woman. It also reminds me of just something very soft, very gentle, something feminine. Also, the grace of God. It's something flowing. It's something smooth and something, precious. That's how the Grace Cup came up. So when I hear the name Grace, it's your flow. It's the grace. It's the grace of God. It's something very gentle that cannot harm you.
Wow, I like that. I like the way you're talking about grace flowing, and of course, grace flows mostly from God. So I was wondering, is your name Grace by any chance?
Yes, actually.
Is your name Grace?
It's my middle name. When I wanted to start, I wanted to call it the Ebi Cup. But then I was told you want to put your name on the product or on the brand. And then I promise you, Grace did not just pop up. I really thought of different names, so many different names. And also I thought of something catchy, I was thinking I want something catchy, something short. And just Grace came up. And by then I was living in South Africa. I was living in Cape Town. So I go by Ebi. I really did not think of Grace. So when I told my friend that the cup will be called the Grace Cup, she's like, oh, so you ended up naming it after yourself. I'm like, I swear it was not on my mind. I swear.
It happens, by the way. It's what you call just a coincidence. So, no problem. Yeah. Actually, I think I like the name of your company, the Grace Cup. And I'm sure people are wondering, which cup is this that we're talking about? And we're just about to get into it. Before we do, I want to let you know that we are on social media. The handle is GBS TV Africa. So please feel free to send in your questions, your comments, and join in the conversation. We also have an SMS line, 21144, if you want to send us a message. So yeah, tomorrow is Menstrual Hygiene Day. And it's a big thing because, menstrual hygiene is something that is very, very important and has everything to do with the fact that we're here, because when we talk about the menstrual cycle, that is the thing that makes sure that the world is populated. And it's an interesting conversation that happens a lot amongst women. And my first question for you, Ebi, is, do you think men have embraced even just talking about mental hygiene, menstrual health? If they are fathers with daughters, is it something they talk about with their daughters, or is it still a conversation that happens with women only?
I must say we still have a very long way to go. Very, very long way. And not just for men, but also for women. There's some women who still get surprisingly embarrassed, like deeply embarrassed just by the topic. So I feel we still have a very long way to go. And that starts with talking to our young girls and boys as early as 9 years, as early as, class 1. You're already telling them at some point in your life, this will happen to you or this will happen to your sister. So that conversation needs to start very early. I feel like for our generation, it started very late, and that's why most of us are still painfully embarrassed by the topic. But if we start earlier, then yes, we're going to get there.
That's right. We still have quite a way to go. So when I remember growing up, whenever we'd be sent to the shop to buy pads, tampons, anything that had to do with menstrual health and hygiene, you'd go and ask for it like at the supermarket, and when you're leaving, they'd have to wrap it with a newspaper. I don't know whether they were trying to hide it, and I'm like, should these companies not do any branding? Because whatever branding they do, it is going to be like hidden by the newspaper. Does that still happen? Because nowadays I just go pick my stuff and nobody.
It still happens for sure. It still happens. The other time, I think last month when I was in Nairobi, I was at the supermarket and someone had bought a pack of Always, and the attendant had to wrap it in a newspaper and then put sellotape all around it and then put it. And I'm like, it's just pads. And if you think about it, it's already wrapped. It already has packaging. It doesn't need more packaging. It's already wrapped. The pads inside are already individually wrapped as well. So why do we need a newspaper on top of it? This is just too much waste. And I was like, I would really love to have an experiment one day where someone just takes a pack of pads and just walks downtown, like somewhere in Kencom. I'm a mama to just a woman standing and waiting for her matatu and just carrying a pack of pads, and see all the eyes that are going to be looking at you. I mean, when you go to the supermarket, you buy bread, you walk around with it. You buy ice cream, you walk around with it. You buy shoes, you walk around with it. Why is it that pads all of a sudden you want to hide and you want to put it in newspapers and all of that? It's the stigma that still, it tells you the amount of stigma that still surrounds this topic.
That's correct. And I'm thinking just what you've said would be a very good campaign about visibility. Like on Friday, tomorrow, people should just stand at strategic places all over the cities. Everybody either with their tampon, different brands and different pads and different panty liners, and just hold it so that everybody's wondering, hey, and today what's happening, because we're just seeing pads everywhere.
It's actually a good idea for awareness. Actually, I never thought so.
I think it's a good idea. And yesterday, as I was preparing for the show today, I was on Instagram and I was able to see there's a song coming up tomorrow that is being done by Chiki Kuruka and her team. I don't know whether you've seen it.
I've seen the trailer, yes.
I've seen the trailer also. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow, I can't wait for tomorrow for the full video to be released. So viewer, please head over there tomorrow, because there's going to be something interesting and something to do with visibility. So, Epi, what is it that led you to get into this space? Because, I know that is not what you wanted to be when you were growing up. But I know something must have happened to have led you into this path.
Yeah. So by then I was living about 6 years ago, in 2011, I moved to Cape Town. I was working as a model and an actor. And I used to be one of those really heavy bleeders during my period. So I would wear a tampon and a pad. And it used to be just managing a period used to be hell. I really did not like the management around it. So I literally Googled, what else can I use? If I don't want a pad, I don't want a tampon, what else can I use? And a cup came up as an alternative. Hey, if you don't want that, there's always a cup. And I remember seeing it for the first time and thinking, oh, no, that's disgusting. No, I would never. That was my initial reaction. I was like, I fold and then I said, where? And then what? No, I'm not doing that. So I continued for a few months with the same suffering that I was going through. Then I decided, you know what, let me go back. Let me go back and listen a bit more about what they're trying to tell me about that. So I did a lot of research. And then, as it turns out, there was a lady in Cape Town who was actually producing her own cups. So I bought one to come and try. But then it was the end of 2016, and I was coming back to Kenya because I would come back for Christmas every year. So when I came, I showed my auntie, and she was so excited about it. She was like, "Please give me, because you're going back to South Africa, you buy another one." So that's what I did. I gave it to her, and at that point, and that's why I keep saying the Grace Cup found me, because I was already tired of living in Cape Town. I was planning on coming back home, but I wasn't sure what exactly I wanted to do with my life. When I come back home, I knew I'm not for employment. I've never been employed a day in my life. So I knew I didn't want to get into employment and started dropping CVs everywhere. No, I didn't want that life. I knew I wanted a business for sure, but then I didn't know what kind of business I wanted to do. So then I had characteristics of that business. I didn't know what business it is, but I had characteristics of it. So I said it has to be something that creates a lasting impact to whoever is buying it. It has to create a lasting impact. I said it needs to be good for the environment. Whatever it is needs to be sustainable and eco-friendly. It can't be something that is creating a whole mess to the already messed up environment. And also I said it has to be some way, it has to be good for animals, like for pets. So I said it has to be good. So I had those characteristics, but I didn't know business. So when I finally got my second cup, the moment I inserted it, or even before I inserted it, the moment I just opened the box and I saw it, it was like the answer was right there. And this is even before I used the cup myself. It was like the answer was right there. And then I used it and I was like, oh my God, this is the business. Yes, it did not fill the box of it has to be good to animals, but then I was like, it fits most of the characteristics. And now that I look back, I'm like, those pads that people throw around, the used pads and the used tampons, sometimes animals, they walk around and they eat them and they die. So in a way, it was actually a product that is good for animals. It protects the animals in that way. So that's how the business was born. Yeah.
And you know what? I like the way you've made sure that point fits in, and you know what, it fits.
Yeah.
What about protecting the animals? So do you
have just thought about it right now, actually, as I was speaking. I've just thought about it.
do you have a pet? Because you seem to be a person who loves animals.
I do love animals, but I have none of my own. Okay. The same way as I do love children, but I have none of my own.
It's okay, because there's so many children and so many pets around for us to love. And let's talk a little bit about pads and about tampons. Yes, they really affect our environment and are very wasteful because they're not biodegradable. So that is a very big problem, because you can imagine all the number of women in the world who use them every month, and the kind of waste is quite high. But putting that aside, because that was something that bothered you, did you have anything else about those products that bothered you? Like, maybe would they give you a rash because there's some people who are allergic to the products? What are the other side effects that you've heard women complaining about?
I'll start with a personal experience. Mine was just the burning. To date, I still have, my thighs would darken because of all the burning that the products would have. At first, I didn't even link it directly to the products because, when you start menstruating, you're told, Chika, this is what it's supposed to use. This is good for you, just use that. So you don't really suspect the products until when you stop. That's when you're like, so it means there was actually a direct link. So for me, it was the burning. I would get irritation so much. But then I was very heavy, so a tampon by itself would not be enough. So I had to use a pad, whether I liked it or not, And then just the inconvenience of, especially when you're using a tampon, there's times when you're pulling it out and then it just rubs you, it just scratches your vagina. It was just, honestly, it was just a terrible experience that I never want to go back to. It's been 4 years and I've never touched one. I'm telling you, the other time when I went to Nairobi, I didn't expect, I'd not carried any of my products. I was still living in Nairobi, so I'd gone to my mom's house. And that night I started menstruating. And my sister wanted to give me And my sister wanted to give, and asked my sister to give me one of her cloth pads because I could not wear anything else.
Wow. All right. So I like to hear that because, the fact that you've been on it consistently for 4 years and there's no turning back for you means that it is something that has ticked all the boxes. It's met all the needs, And let's just start with my first and most basic question. I know this will sound weird, but just bear with us. When you're on your menses and you're wearing a pad, you see sometimes it gets soaked, and sometimes you wonder. Even the same happens when you have a tampon. The cup that you're using, it looks rather small. Is there any chance of leakage? Is it possible might you have the statistics on how much blood loss we actually lose on a daily basis in terms of milliliters?
Actually, to answer your last question first, a woman, doesn't matter how heavy, how light you are, assuming you're a regular woman, like in terms of you don't have endometriosis, fibroids, because those are the exceptions. Those ones bleed like excessively heavy. So assuming you don't have any of those, a regular woman would only bleed for 4 tablespoons. That's it. Not per day, per cycle. So whether you're bleeding for 10 days, for 2 days, for 3 days, the maximum you can bleed for are 4 tablespoons. And that is someone who's very heavy will lose 4 tablespoons. But someone who's not too heavy or like a regular flow, it's like 1 tablespoons. That's it.
Did you say 4 tablespoons?
Yes. Zile vijiko kubwa za kukula. 4. That's it.
I'm laughing because in my head, I was expecting you to use metric units. So I'm wondering, do you mean milliliters or which term are you using? You mean 4? 4, the big spoons of eating. Only 4 of those.
Yes. It's easier to describe because when you start saying milliliters and whatever, you might lose a few people. But just tablespoons, just count 4. That's it. And some people, it's 1 tablespoon. Yes, when you start using the cup, that's when you realize you don't bleed that much. Some people, like sometimes I ask people, how much do you think you bleed for? And they say, maybe a cup, maybe a jug. I'm like, a jug? If you bleed for a jug, you'll be dead. That is too much blood for you to lose. That is too much.
Exactly. And you know what? I think that in a way, it is a marketing gimmick because there's something they put in those products to make the blood spread. And then I don't know what happens because it ends up leaking sometimes out of the pad. And you keep thinking, oh my God, there's no way this has got to be, like you're right. That person who thought a jug, okay, a jug is too much because you're right. That would be too much blood loss. But 4 tablespoons is really not much at all. And you see,
look at the ads on TV.
It will happen like over 4 days. So it's like 1 tablespoon per day.
And that is, it's 4 tablespoons for your cycle, not for the day. Which means some people will bleed for maybe 2 tablespoons, others is 1.5, others is half a tablespoon. The maximum is 4. And so 4 tablespoons, you're described as a heavy bleeder with your 4 tablespoons. You're heavy, And the reason why, just going back to what you're talking about, the reason why you've seen those pad commercials on TV. They'll put 1 drop on the pad, and then what happens? It spreads. But then you see, when that is happening, you're not watching it. You're wearing your pad. So you go to the bathroom, you go for a pee or whatever. When you remove the pants, you think, oh, my pad is full. But the reality is, those were just 1 or 2 drops that came out. So you think to yourself, oh, my pad is full, I better change. And the more you change, the more you go to the supermarket, the more pads you buy. That's the economics of it. So the interest is soak as quickly so that you can change as quickly so that you can go to the supermarket as often. That's the whole thing behind it. That's how you make the money.
Exactly. And that's why I said it's like a gimmick because, to be honest, every person who has a product they're selling, their number one aim is to sell as many products as possible so that they can make as much money as possible. And therefore, you're right, a drop spreads so much so that you feel like it's full. In fact, now I can really understand the issue of wastage because you're right. Maybe it's just a drop or 2 that has spread so much and you have to keep changing. And when you think about it, it really means that you're solving a problem with so much, a problem that can be solved
creating another one
in a more efficient way.
And actually, let me shock you with this statistic. It takes about 500 years for disposable products to biodegrade. So the pad that you 500
years for one.
Yes, for one. Because of all the plastic that is chemicals.
If you ask yourself, when you're in primary school in class 6, and then you go on until you're, let's say, 50, can you imagine how much damage, how much trash, that you're adding into the environment? And no wonder you have this tagline that really you wanted us to talk about, which is moving to reusables. Please mention that tagline so that we can be able to keep using it.
It's time to switch to reusables.
Exactly. Time to switch to reusables. And you know what? When you talk about reusables, there's something that comes to mind almost immediately. And of course, it's not something positive, unfortunately. You see, this is also, in a way, making me remember diapers that children use. And you remember that we made the shift from the reusables into the disposable diapers, which I'm sure have got the same problem because they cause burning, which we've talked about.
Yeah.
And of course, they also are harmful to the environment because it takes so long for us to get rid of them. They're not easily biodegradable. They're not biodegradable, actually. So my question is it sounds like the thought of cleaning diapers which have poop, it's disgusting in a way. You don't want to be touching so much poop in your life. Do you find that women also feel the same about their menses? Like they don't want to keep having to wash? I don't know. When you say switch to reusables, are you meaning like we use a tampon that we then wash and dry? And
no, both the cups and the pads, because we have this as well. We have the washable pads as well. So we have the cup that looks like this, and we also have the pads. So they're both reusable products. But back to your question, there is a lot of, I think it's also misinformation in terms of when someone hears a pad that you wash, they're thinking, oh, but then I don't want to touch blood, I don't want to touch this, I don't want to do that. But then you don't realize just how easy it is to maintain the pads actually. Because it's just one soak. With the first soak, obviously, to just remove the blood, and then the second one you wash by soap, and then you rinse it off. That's it. And also, when you look back, our mothers and our grandmothers, they never had disposables. They would use pieces of cloth that they would put together to create a pad. So basically, we're going back to what our moms used to do, but then it's more designed. Like it's not just random pieces of clothes. It's more hygienic. It's a well designed. It looks good. It looks fantastic. They come like for example, ours come in different colors and designs. And then if you notice, back in the day, women rarely had all this infections and endometriosis and fibroids and all this. I mean, they were still there, but not as popular or as common as they are now. And now that you're looking back, and actually disposable products have been directly linked to cervical cancer right now, and more people don't really understand the amount of toxins that are there. And also women that are more in tune with what's going inside their bodies and they have children, you realize more and more women are now moving back to washable diapers, the cloth diapers, because they're realizing all these chemicals are not good for my child. And yes, you might say, I don't want to wash poop or I don't want to wash pee or whatever. But at the end of the day, whatever the cloth that you're using on your child is actually much better than than the other alternatives. The other time I was at one of the embassies, international for a European country, and they wanted me to supply them with the pads. And I was happily surprised to know that all the women there that have young kids, they all use cloth diapers on their children. Not that they don't have money to buy disposables, but they understand why using a cloth is better than a disposable one. So we are now going back to what our moms used to do, because we've realized it's microwave generation, because we live in a place where we want instant things, you just tap of a button and your food is here, tap of a button, your food is warm, but then you don't want to wash your pad because you just want to take it out and just throw it. Where are you throwing it? Where is it going? You never ask those questions. What are you doing to the environment? What are you doing to your body? You never ask that.
Exactly. And I really like what you say that, first of all, I like the design. Please, can you hold it up a little? Because I just want to look at it one more time.
Yes,
And
we have so many designs.
What is it made of?
So the pad, our pads are actually the only ones in Kenya that are made from a material called bamboo charcoal fiber. That's why it's black. Sorry, that's why it's black on this side. So imagine activated charcoal, like the one that women use on their face and things like that. So imagine it on a fiber. So the good thing about using bamboo charcoal fiber is the material itself is highly absorbent. So you don't have, sometimes when you wear a disposable pad, you feel like you're sitting on your blood. Like the blood
There's some wetness.
That wet feeling. Yes, you don't get any of that wet feeling with this one. Because the moment the blood is in contact with the material, it just sucks it. It remains dry. It remains dry and comfortable. So you don't feel that whatever. And then, but the most important thing about this fiber is it's naturally antibacterial, which means then that chances of you getting infections are way less than using any other material. So it's naturally, the way it's created, it's naturally like that. Also, it's extra soft. So your vagina feels very comfortable with it. It's extra.
It's mild all the way.
Yes. And then at the back, we use a material called PUL. So PUL is, think of a rain jacket, but not quite in terms of, it doesn't make that plasticky sound. Think of a rain jacket. So there is no leaks. There's absolutely no leaks at the back. So you can wear this pad. The maximum recommended time is 12 hours that you can wear it, but then there'll be no leaks at all. And then the reason why we also use PUL is because then we can afford to bring them in different colors, different designs, because we believe in choices. So all these are like the different designs that we have. So we believe in choices. So for example, we sell it per set. So you can buy a set. A set has, let me show you a sample. So this is a panty liner. We have panty liners. Okay. So that's the smallest, that's a panty liner. We have this, we call a medium pad. So panty liner, then medium pad. And then this one here, we call the day pad. It's like that, the day pad. And then the biggest one is the night pad. So here, this is a night pad. Yeah.
And there's something on the side.
Yes.
For fastening, I think.
Yes. So we have buttons for fastening. So you see, the regular disposable pad will have glue or gum, something to adhesive for your underwear. So because this is a reusable product, we use the buttons. So you have a button and you just put it on your underwear, the same way you'd wear any other pad. You just put it on your underwear and you just clip it. You just clip it and it stays like that. So all our pads actually, this is this was from the old version. The new one, all our pads right now, they have double buttons. I don't know if you're able to see it. Maybe I'll turn it this side. But they have double buttons, which means you can make it as tight or as loose as you want it to be.
This is all very, very interesting. We shall be right back after the break. Thank you.
Ni vipaji potty loans. So ukiniona niko on run pale tao BS nikiharakisha kukuja GBS, it's because potty loans is back. And this time it's back to inform you, to transform you, to educate you and inspire you.
Najiamini, ndo maana sometimes me who laugh at my failures ndo ni motivate success. Ni Dante Spy the poet hapa hivi. Tuko Vipaji Poetry Lounge live at GBS.
Best Chef na Spice ya Kari no wanda alikuwa mkali. Vipaji Poetry Lounge
at all social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, tuko everywhere. Vipaji Poetry Lounge, GBS. Stay tuned.
The woman is burdened with so much, such that they don't have time for themselves.
If you don't go after what you want, there's going to be hurt, there's going to be disappointment, there's going to be regret, there's going to be let down.
I love people. People will always have a view.
Ni vipaji poetry loans. So ukiniona niko on run pale tao BS nikiharakisha kukuja GBS, it's because poetry loans is back. And this time it's back to inform you, to transform you, to educate you and inspire you.
Najiamini, ndo maana sometimes me who laugh at my failures ndo ni motivate success. Ni Dante Spy the Poet hapa hivi. Tuko Vipaji Poetry Lounge live at GBS.
Best Chef na Spice ya Kari no wanda alikuwa mkali. Vipaji Poetry Lounge
At all social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, tuko everywhere. Vipaji Poetry Lounge, GBS. Stay tuned.
The woman is burdened with so much, such that they don't have time for themselves.
If you don't go after what you want, there's going to be hurt, there's going to be disappointment, there's going to be regret, there's going to be let down.
I love people.
People will always have a view. They will always have an opinion.
Whether you like it or not,
It's always there.
people will put you in a shame box.
You have to love yourself first.
I'm not that person.
It should come from deep conviction, and I'm talking about conviction. I'm not talking about emotional giving.
Then that should pose a big problem.
A man won't handle that. They will just run.
Families break. Marriages don't exist anymore.
There's so many people out there pretending like they don't have the problem. Pretending like their relationship is not on the rock.
What was that?
That's nonsense.
Get lost.
No. I think
This is Talk to Rose.
The woman is burdened with so much, such that they don't have time for themselves.
If you don't go after what you want, there's going to be hurt, there's going to be disappointment, there's going to be regret, there's going to be let down.
I love people.
People will always have a view. They will always have an opinion.
Whether you like it or not,
It's always there.
people will put you in a shame box.
You have to love yourself first.
I'm not that person.
it should come from deep conviction, and I'm talking about conviction. I'm not talking about emotional giving.
Then that should pose a big problem.
A man won't handle that. They will just run.
Families break. Marriages don't exist anymore.
There's so many people out there pretending like they don't have the problem. Pretending like their relationship is not on the rock.
What was that?
That's nonsense.
Get lost.
No. I think
This is Talk to Rosemary Njage Show. I am your host, Rosemary Njage. This is a place where we host different choirs, different praise and worships, different bands, different worshipers. We are so much blessed.
There is a God in heaven.
Amen.
He's a God in heaven who answers all of our prayers.
Your talents and your gifting shall open doors.
But I'm going to do this, dedicating it to Christ. And that's how I wrote Nachotaka.
Haja ya moyo wangu, Yesu. Haja ya moyo wangu.
How do you go about composition of your music?
Everything that I sing inakuwaga ni imba.
Echo Mziki right here on your #1 TV station, GBS TV. My good name is Hypolar the Experience. You can call me Moja Safi. Ukumazel the best TV ever. Lafu shoni gani Echo Mziki SMS line 21144.
Tunakuchezea zile ngoma mpya zenye zimekuwa zikitokea hii wiki.
Anytime ulizia vila God nikulia na wakinikeuzia I know you got me girl, yeah you got me girl.
Kautamu nikisa maneno nasikia kautamu.
Ati wanauliza gospel imedu bisa CMT we have to do. So Bible now we hand, so we physically, spiritually, lyrically, mentally.
Leo manze tuko na wasanii wa daily ndani ya nyumba.
Yeah.
Tuko na muziki kali, tuko na countdown kali. Yaani kila kitu leo iko fresh. Chukua sharubati, hiyo ni juice hapo. Mpaka nguju ya meza.
Triple.
Yeah.
Tumia mtu salamu pale mali unakulanga chapo dondo.
Nani mimi? Walifunga.
Ni vipaji poetry loans. So ukiniona niko on run pale tao BS nikiharakisha kukuja GBS, it's because poetry loans is back. At this time it's back to inform you, to transform you, to educate you and inspire you.
Najiamini, ndo maana sometimes me who laugh at my failures ndo ni motivate success. Ni Dante Spy the Poet hapa hivi. Tuko vipaji poetry lounge live at GBS.
Best Chef na Spice ya Kari no wanda alikuwa mkali. Vipaji Poetry Lounge
at all social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, tuko everywhere. Vipaji Poetry Lounge, GBS. Stay tuned.
The woman is burdened with so much, such that they don't have time for themselves.
If you don't go after what you want, there's going to be hurt, there's going to be disappointment, there's going to be regret, there's going to be let down.
I love people.
People will always have a view. They will always have an opinion.
Whether you like it or not.
It's always there.
People will put you in a shame box.
You have to love yourself first.
I'm not that person.
It should come from deep conviction, and I'm talking about conviction. I'm not talking about emotional giving.
Then that should pose a big problem.
A man won't handle that. They will just run.
Families break. Marriages. Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the show. Today we're talking about menstrual hygiene and menstrual health, and we're basically encouraging ourselves and our viewers to switch back to reusables. There are so many benefits of reusables. Some, of course, have got to do with the environment, but some also have to do with us directly in terms of just health, less infections, not exposing yourself to the toxins that are used when you're making the disposable pads and tampons, you know. So I'm so excited to have Abby with me. She is the founder of a company called the Grace Cup, and so far she's told us about the the reusable diapers that are so awesome. I mean, the variety of colors is amazing. They've got panty liners, they've got normal pads, different sizes, and she's just about to tell us about the one they have for the ladies who are, you know, in their maternity process. And remember that we're on social media, so please feel free to be able to engage with us. So Abby, yes, you're telling us about the maternity pads.
Yes, we recently introduced one that we call the XL pad or the maternity pad. So this one is relatively larger than, if I'm to compare it to the night pad, this one you can see it's quite big. It's quite big. And the reason why I introduced this is there was a time I was doing an accelerator program with the lady that works with maternal health. So I asked the lady, after the lady gives birth, there's always a lot of bleeding. What do you give her? And she said, because they're working in rural Samburu areas where a lot of pastoralists, they said we only give her one packet of pads, the disposable ones. And I said, well, It can't be enough. Just one packet cannot be enough. Plus, they're just giving them the regular pads, not the maternity pads. So that's where the idea was born. I was like, this woman can get something reusable that she will not just use for the maternity period, but even after that period is over, she will still use this pad. That's when you introduce the XL, which also they come in different colors and designs. And this one has actually proven to be very popular because it's very good for people with a heavy flow. Now we're talking people with endometriosis, fibroids, just crazy flows. People like that, this is the pad for them. And also women like me who are not as heavy right now, but then you end up really staining your bed, tossing and turning in bed at night. So we made it extra long and extra wide just to make sure that it covers you 360. So when you're sleeping at night, you just sleep in peace because there's no way that you're going to stain your bed. So, and then the good thing about it is, again, it looks big, but it's not bulky. It doesn't feel like you're wearing something because, again, with the fiber that you use in the pads. So just to demonstrate just how not bulky it is, look, it's in one hand.
Yeah.
So it is not a bulky pad at all.
Wow, I'm so loving the product so far. And you know what? Another thing that I need to ask is about staining. The material that you've talked about that has some activated charcoal in the middle that is very highly absorbent, which keeps it dry, which is great because that way you're not going to have the wetness on your skin, you're not going to have the rash, you're not going to have the discomfort of feeling like you're sitting on something wet, But tell us about when you clean, does the blood stain the product, the material?
No, it does not stain it. Actually, you'll be surprised. So usually I tell people the cleaning process is very easy. You just take the first, maybe just have a basin of water, assuming you're hand washing. Just have a basin of water, cold water, always cold water. Soak it for about 10 minutes. As you shower, as you do your regular shower, be soaking it. So by the time you're done showering, it's just a matter of literally taking it out and squeezing out the water, which will have the blood. Drain that, and now you can use soap. And then with soap, you just use regular Kipande soap. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, just regular soap. Don't add any fabric softener because in the long run, it will ruin the fiber on the material. And then it will start being less and less absorbent. So it's just wash it kawaida and then just rinse it with clean water just to take out the soap that may be still in the pad. And then just go hang it. And usually you hang it on the side like this so that you don't bend the fiber when you're hanging. You just hang it on the side, and that's it. And it's a very light material, which means it dries up very quickly as well.
Wow, I'm so excited, and already I'm wondering, when can I buy? How many do you buy?
And then
where is your store located?
Something else I forgot to mention. So, for example, people will ask if I'm at work, how do I manage this if I need to change my pad? So I keep saying you don't even have to touch your pad if you're wearing it. So assuming you're at work and you've soiled this one and now you want to change it, it's just a matter of folding. You just fold it in half like that, and then the same button that you used to clip while inserting it putting it on is the same button that you just clip. And then it looks like that. And the added advantage of using the gray stuff is that all our pads, that when you buy the set, they come with a bag, like so. So this is just a sample of the bag. This is a wet bag. It's leak-proof as well. So you just take the soiled pad, you put it inside the bag that is already provided, you close it like that, and you walk back to your desk, or you walk back to wherever it was, and then when you get back home, you just clean it. And that's it. Everything's so nice, so classy, This bag is actually one of the favorite ones because we distribute a lot to schools, and the girls love this bag because they're like, it's so discreet. No one really knows what it is. And then on times when they're not on their period, they use the bags for keeping their pens. They use it as a pencil pouch. Because they're like, I can use it for other things as well. So we're trying to make menstruation be cool and fun and not something to be ashamed of.
Exactly. And you see, that way you can even confuse the people who are like trying to follow you. Every time you go to the toilet and you have that little bag, they think, you're on your periods. But if you come with it to school and you're using it as your pencil pouch, then of course they just think, okay, this chick just loves that bag, you know.
Yeah, she just
And
loves
anyway,
it.
what the thing is, if you're just going to the bathroom and you need to pick it and go so that everybody knows you're in a period, it is okay. You know what you're trying to say is there's nothing wrong and there's nothing to hide about it. We just need to normalize the fact that this is something that happens to all women, you know. So accept it, and the safer we can make it, the more available we can make it, the less we can harm the world by using it, the better. Now, we need to talk a little bit about, before time is over, we need to talk about the cup. Would you please show us samples and tell us a little bit about that?
I will use this as a sample. Hope it's clear enough. We have different colors. So I don't know which one looks better on the screen. Which one can you see?
Are those the same size?
No, they're different sizes. But there's different
Tell us
colors.
about that. I didn't even know that they're different sizes.
Oh yeah, actually, let me hold it like this so that you can see all the different sizes. We actually have 4 different sizes.
Okay.
We have 4 different sizes.
To yourself, yes, there we see. Perfect. Those are 4 sizes.
We actually have 4 different sizes. So we have the smallest one is the 10 mil. So this is the smallest, and then it's followed by the 15. Followed by the 15 mil. So if you're a first-time user, we usually encourage you to either start with the 10 or the 15, just so that you can learn how to use a cup. After you're good, after you know how to use a cup, then you can always upgrade it to a bigger size. So we have this, is called the 25 mil. So the 25 mil comes in both clear and orange colors. So they come in 2 different colors. And then finally, we have the 30 mil that we also nicknamed the Mamayao. So the Mamayao, this is the biggest one. This is the biggest one of all. So this is for someone that is very, very heavy. You have because it's literally double this size, you know. So we go according to capacity and not according to who's given birth, who's a virgin, who's this. No, we go to, are you a light flow, are you heavy flow? So my advice is usually whether you're light or heavy, if you're using the cup for the first time, you always start with the smaller one. Start with either the 10 or the 15. Then later on, if you feel like the 15 is small, you can always get a bigger one later.
So how do you know when it's full? Like the small one, for example?
Yeah. So I usually encourage people, if it's your first time using the cup, I usually say start with change it every 4 hours. So every 4 hours you can go and change. But if you go to the bathroom and you don't feel any leakage or anything, it means you're fine. It means you can push it to 12 hours. And I find that many people can actually push it to 12 hours. We are not as heavy bleeders as we think we are.
Exactly. We've already demystified that marketing gimmick. And you're talking about, removing it. No, you talked about leakage. Something that if it gets completely full, it can leak. Can you sleep with it therefore at night, or is it a
so
day?
To answer so those are 2 questions. Yes, you can sleep with it at night. And sometimes it can leak only because, let me show the insertion process. So you see the way the cup is designed, it has this rim at the top. So the whole idea is the moment you've inserted it, assuming this is your vagina, the moment you've inserted it, it creates a vacuum, it creates a suction. That's why you can jump, you can run, you see, you can do, the cup is there, it will not come out. The physics behind it is foolproof. It cannot come out. So when it's time for you to take it out, all you need to do is to squeeze the base so that you can remove the air. You can remove the vacuum that you already created and take it out. And you already know from physics, if something is in a vacuum, if air cannot go in, definitely liquids cannot come out of it. So that is what makes it leak-proof. So leakage cannot happen. However, if the cup is not inserted correctly, which means maybe there's a part that's compromised, or maybe it's not fully open, then leakage can happen because then it is not fully closed. It is not like that, you know. So
yeah, I get it.
And how to insert it? It's simply folded. So the cup is folded first. So it's folded.
Oh.
It's folded. It looks like that. And then I'm going to use this dummy to demonstrate. So it's folded and then it's inserted the same way that we insert a tampon, but then you just release it. When you release it, the design that we have at the grace cup, it pushes it open. It forces it to open. So when it opens, as opposed to a pad or a tampon that is absorbing your period, a cup is simply collecting your period. So it's your your grace is flowing. Your grace is flowing into the grace. So it's just collecting.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's just flowing into the cup, and you can stay with it for 12 hours and just take it out, rinse it, reinsert. That's it.
And do you feel it? Or I guess you've got to put it in to a certain distance so that you don't feel it. Like if it's too low, you'll be uncomfortable.
You're not supposed to feel it. That's the thing. That's the thing about it. You're not supposed to feel it. If you feel it, it means
tampon.
Yes.
Because if you put a tampon too low, you feel it. But if you push it into the right, I think they say like you measure with your this part, then it will be in and you won't feel it, right?
Yes. So and that also depends with that also depends with the kind of that also depends with how low or how high your cervix is. The good thing about using a cup is it forces you to interact with your vagina. You will learn so much about your body that you had no idea existed. So for people with a low cervix, it means that you will push the cup. You don't have to push the cup too high, because all it needs, the cervix looks something like this, yeah, and that is where the period is coming from. So all you need to do is position the cup in a place where it's directly underneath the cup, so that the flow can just go inside the cup. So you see, if your cervix is high, then it means you need to push it just a little bit higher. But the good thing about it is it doesn't need to go as high as a tampon does, because it's collecting, which means as long as you positioned it correctly, then the flow can just drip directly into the cup.
Let me not ask whether it can get lost in there, but
you can ask. It's a very popular question. You can ask. The way, it's amazing how God created us. The way we are created, a cup can never get lost, because this is your, and again, that's why I also do training on this, because people don't really understand how the anatomy is. So this is the vulva is what you can see outside. The vagina, technically you can't see it because it's inside. We just call it vagina as a blanket term. So this is the vulva. The cup is inserted, it goes inside the vagina, it stays there. The next thing after the vagina is the cervix. The cervix is a tiny, tiny hole that only allows for sperm to go in, you know? So it's impossible. Cups have been there since the 1930s, and it's impossible for the cup. There's no way you'll be inserting your cup, and you insert your cup, and then all of a sudden it's just coming out of your mouth because
your mouth.
Yeah, it can't.
Thank you so much for that awesome illustration. We totally get it. Guess what? Time is up. You know what? You need to give us your social media pages, and then say goodbye because time is up.
Okay. So we are on. I'm very active. We're very active on Instagram. It's at the Grace Cup. We're also on Facebook at the Grace Cup. We're also on YouTube at the Grace Cup. So everything is Grace, Grace, Grace. The Grace Cup. You'll always find us there. We also have a shop. If you're interested in buying, we also have a shop on Moi Avenue in Nairobi at Jiwa House. We have a physical store where you can go in. You can choose the designs of the pads that you wish to have. You can interact with the cups. We have samples over there. We have very nice attendants that will always guide you in case you have any questions. And the number is always
How has been the response? How has been the response so far? Are women excited about this? Are they buying? Or do we still need to do a lot of education around it?
Education is still needed for sure, but it's way better than it was when I started back in 2017. Like I would put ads and I would tell people, this is like cup, guys. Like I love it so much. I don't understand why someone else doesn't want to use. But then there's a lot of backlash. Oh, mimi siwezi buy hiyo kitu. Oh, hiyo kitu inaleta cancer. Oh, sijui nini. But then we're now moving people. Thank God for internet, because people can do their own research. You don't have to believe what I'm saying. You can do your own research and come up with your own verdict. So now more and more people are getting into the Grace Cup. This is how it looks like, actually. No, more and more people are moving towards the Grace Cup, which is amazing.
Wow, thank you so much, Abby, for that insightful information. It was such a lovely, lovely and vibrant conversation. I'm like, every woman needs to hear this. And, you know, you've done it so beautifully. I really... I celebrate you for taking such a bold step into an area that has got a lot of stigma. You're opening up a space that is very vital, and we celebrate you. So happy Menstrual Hygiene Day tomorrow. I wish you more sales and more, we need to educate more and more people about it, because what I've had is very, very good and very exciting. So thank you so much, viewer, for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.